Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Architects, mark your calendars for the Entre Architect Community Annual Meeting. It's the business conference for small firm architects. From October 23rd to the 25th, join us in Nashville, Tennessee, for an event dedicated to small firm entrepreneur architects like you. Experience inspiring keynotes, interactive workshops, and unparalleled networking opportunities. This is your chance to learn, share, and grow with peers who understand your journey. It's a unique conference, unlike any of the others. If you're a small firm architect business owner, this event is for you. Secure your spot today at smallfirmconference.com. Don't miss out. Join us in Nashville and prepare your firm to thrive in 2025. My name is Mark R. LePage, and you are listening to Entre Architect Podcast, where Each week, I speak with inspiring, passionate people who share their knowledge and expertise, all to help you build a better business as a small firm entrepreneur architect. Joining us today is Ryan Fish, a lead AP certified licensed architect and co-owner of PKA Architecture, one of Minnesota's premier residential architecture firms. Ryan is not only known for his award-winning designs, beautiful architecture, you should go check out the website, but also for his dedication to mentoring the next generation of architects. As the 2024-2025 president of the University of Minnesota's Design Student and Alumni Board, Ryan brings valuable insights on how we can best support emerging architects at every age. And I'm here today to talk to Ryan about that. I'm looking forward to this conversation, Ryan. Welcome to Entree Architect Podcast.
Hello, Mark. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. Excited to chat about how we can help the next generation.
Yes, I'm looking forward to this. This is a conversation that we should have. This is a conversation that all architects should be considering and thinking about. How do we support and encourage the next generation? How do we make sure that the next generation thrive as architects? And so we're going to have that conversation. But before we do that, Ryan, I want to know more about you, personally about you. When did you discover your passion for architecture, and who or what inspired you to get started?
I think it started as a kid. From the Northwoods of Wisconsin, so pretty remote. So I did a lot of sketching and drawing as a kid and really was into the kind of art aspect of things. As I approached high school and was thinking college and beyond, my parents were like, artists don't make a lot of money, so you should think about something else. So, kind of finding my way through high school, I had a great teacher who kind of introduced me to AutoCAD and all the interesting things that could be drawn in that fashion. And that kind of like drew me to architecture. And so I started looking at where I could go for architecture schools, and both University of Minnesota and Wisconsin both had great architecture schools. And so I went to undergrad at the University of Minnesota for architecture, and then continued my education on to University of Wisconsin for architecture for a master's. Little did I know that, probably to the little detriment of my parents, that architects don't make a ton of money either. But, it's a learning process, but it's a passion of drawing. And I was always good at math too. So the idea of like using some kind of math related, computer related, as well as the artistic side really drew me to the architecture. And in college, I was able to do a couple travel abroads, and that really kind of enlightened me to, again, being from the Northwoods of Wisconsin, not having a lot of see or hear of these places, and seeing all that really had a profound effect on the creation of architecture. And
Where did you go when you went overseas?
so we had a study abroad where we spent a good portion of time in Paris and then traveled throughout Italy. And so it was, like I said, it was just a great experience. And, at the time it was like, it was great to see all this wonderful architecture. In my back of my mind, I always thought like, how is this going to really play into future practice of architecture? But as I tell a lot of students that I work with, I'm always surprised how much I go back to those experiences, and a lot of times relate to clients and seeing some of these works of architecture that they also go see, because they're classic pieces of architecture. And so I tell the students that I work with now, like, if there's one thing I would recommend doing, is doing that, study abroad, because that's the easiest time in your career that you can do it. And for me, it had a profound effect. So early on in my career, I was in larger architecture firms, commercial architecture firms, so did a large variety of things, from schools and offices and large corporate campuses. And in grad school, I had worked for a design build house builder firm. So in the back of my mind, I really enjoyed that, because it was much closer contact with the clients. The actual emotional impact of houses was so much more with clients versus like large campus. It was a series of people or groups of people, where here it's someone's home, and that emotion and a passion, which sometimes can be a lot for a lot of people. I really fed off of that. And so after trying my hand at various architectures of large scale and medium scale, I kind of gravitated back to residential firms here in the Twin Cities. And there's a lot of great firms here. There's a lot of great craftsmanship here. We have a lot of, the builders here all have the Scandinavian legacy of great craftsmanship with both cabinetry and house building, and that kind of passion as well kind of just kept me in the residential field. And then I've been working for PKA for about 13 years now, and in the last 2 years, I've become a principal and part owner of the firm. So that is like a brand new turning over a new page in the book for me. So still finding my way in that portion of it.
So it sounds like you grew up at PKA.
I did. Yep. I feel like a lot of architects will move around in their early years, couple years here, a couple years there. By far, like the 13 years I have here is by far the most. And yes, I've learned a lot.
Yeah. The work that you do at PKA is beautiful. It's beautiful residential architecture. What really caught my eye, and in your bio, I didn't read that part of the bio, but it's a very broad range of architecture. You have some very, very, very minimalist, modern glass box type of architecture, flat roof, all the way to very well detailed traditional homes. What was the inspiration, or what is the inspiration behind focusing on such a broad range of residential architecture?
First of all, it's just fun, right? To kind of express in all those different forms. You never stop learning. And, we may have not done a particular style at all yet. And then someone approaches us and it's a chance to learn about a new thing. I think what it comes down to, and there's a lot of great firms that have a particular style where we do not, but I think that really comes to a lot of firms will say this, but we really listen to the clients, and like they all have their own desires, and we're happy to go mid-century route, like I said, ultra modern or traditional. Like we're along the ride with them, and if they want a traditional home, we're not going to make it a modern home, right? So we're like, let's do it. If you want a traditional home with all the classic details, let's do it. It might be a little bit of a learning process for us some ways, but I think by now we've covered almost all the different styles of residential architecture you can do. And now I feel like it's one of our calling cards is that prospective clients look at our website and say, a lot of firms I see only traditional or only modern. The fact that you have this wide variety makes, that gives them hope that whatever they have, dreamed up in their head, that we're able to first put it to paper and then get it, built. And I find that the draw for getting younger staff members in is that variety as well. Not only clients, but employees. They see that they can kind of, instead of moving around to different firms, they can stay within the same firm and try out a bunch of different architectural styles.
Yeah. Very often we will, at Entree Architect, recommend that architects focus on a specific brand, right? Build a brand, and typically targeting a specific ideal client, often an ideal type of project or type of style that becomes part of your brand. Your firm clearly has such a broad range that is clearly a part of your brand, which is really interesting that it's the complete opposite of focusing on one specific style. And by doing that, you've clearly done that very well. And so it does become a really strong part of your brand.
Yeah, it's like I said, that is now more than anything else I find when prospects approach us is just the wide variety. And even like in regionalism within the United States, like the wide variety can capture so many different markets within the US. So like mid-century, some area like in California has a lot of them. Like they see those and it's a firm from Minnesota and like, wow, they can do it as well. And so it would kind of cover a lot of styles, and there are areas of the country that focus on styles and be able to kind of be able to do them all and try to do them all well. That has opened up more markets to us in that way as well. Not like we just only do the Northwest style. Well, that's a great style,
Right.
but like you're able to kind of hit them all. And there's definitely firms here in the Twin Cities, awesome firms, but have distinct style. And like you said, a lot of times that is the way to kind of draw in your clientele because they're searching that out. But we have found that kind of niche of, hey, and they ask, why do you have such a wide variety of styles? And it just comes down to, we're going to intently listen to you, and whatever style you're thinking is the way, Like, we're not gonna, put it to the side. We want to like investigate it with you and see if truly that is the style that you're hoping for. And sometimes it changes along the way.
Yeah, if you who are listening would like to see the architecture that we're talking about, the website is pkarch.com. Pkarch.com is the website for PKA Architecture. Ryan, I wanted to talk to you primarily about the next generation, how to support the next generation, mentoring. And you talked a little bit about mentoring. Was there somebody for you that helped you along the way when you got started in architecture?
For sure. Yes. When I was at one of the larger firms here in town that did commercial, and it was part of the licensing process. You kind of had a mentor within the company, and then they also recommended that you have a mentor outside of the company. And both of those gentlemen were like key in kind of providing both, insight and pathways, also as well as reality checks along the way of like, when I was starting to think about moving on to other firms, even though they're within that business, they were very helpful, right? Like, there's a part there you are the business owner and you're hoping they stay and whatever, but then there's the mentor aspect where they would kind of separated themselves out from that and said, "Hey, if you're going to move on, here's the things I recommend." And I appreciated that insight, even though it's probably counter to them wanting me to stay in the firm. And so I've always kind of kept that in my back of my mind. And when I talk to students or some of our young employees, like, I'm gonna stop being your employer and start being your mentor. And this is my advice to you, right? Like, my learned experience. So yeah, I had two great mentors along the way that said both advice and kind of reality checks along the way that helped me stay grounded and find that next path in architecture.
You are focused and passionate about this topic, both in your firm as well as outside of your firm. What drew you to focus on that? Clearly, you're dedicated to it. You have positions and roles at organizations. You're doing it at your own firm. What is it that makes it so important to you that you want to make sure that it's done, outside of the firm as well as inside the firm?
I think it's just learning, responding to some of the like, personal angst that I had along the way, and like hoping I can remove that from some of the employees and students. And it's always a long, windy path. And if you can kind of smooth some of those corners out and provide a little less angst, like my college years, I would say if there was one area where it was less guidance, it was during my architectural college years, like having more guidance and thought of like, should I be taking more practical skills versus theory skills? And once you get out in from college, like, what skills do you have that are marketable for yourself? Because every firm is hoping that they can like bill you in some way right out of the gates, right? And so I think in retrospect, some of those like, could that have done better? And the answer is yes. And I'm like, is there a way I can give back and improve that portion of it? And then within the company as a young employee, especially when I said early on, I was in a firm that was 450 people. You are a little bit more of a number, and there's a lot of things that you think about that you don't know if you can come forward and talk about with the company. And just kind of talking to our staff that, hey, like, instead of sitting with something in your mind for weeks and either you get disgruntled and have to move on or whatever, you just build this case in your head without ever saying anything. And it's like, no, let's talk. Let's talk. There's always a path forward. What you're building in your mind is probably not actual, it's just perception. And trying to counter that and keeping the staff, your great staff, happy and wanting to be there, that is something you got to work on every day. So I've kind of learned along the way, like those two aspects of it that I've always wanted to improve, because that always was something I would get in my own head, right? Like, as a person in a 450 person firm, like, just thinking, like, oh, am I doing okay? Like, not asking questions and just being more frontal with people, and they can focus on doing great architecture.
Have you formalized that at PKA? Is there a program in house that you actually have developed?
Yeah, so we have our own kind of internal mentoring program where we pair kind of our leadership staff, our emerging staff. So everybody has a mentor, even when I was kind of or a step below principal levels, director level. Even as a director, I had a principal as a mentor. And so we pair everybody up. The idea is that you're at least meeting on a monthly basis, perhaps even, have side conversations much more than that, but that is a pathway for someone to say like, hey, I'm having a difficult time with this PM, like how can I go about working with them better, to concerns about how much they get paid and like how would I best, you know, achieve to get more salary, any of those things. So like it's kind of a open dialogue that is whatever is talked about in the mentoring times is not going to kind of run up the flagpole and be misrepresented, and just allows some of that discussion to happen freely. And part of it, the way we started it, was the idea of like the annual review, right? Like by the time the annual review comes around, and I think everybody probably maybe listening to this podcast, you've been in an annual review where they bring up something 9 months ago and you're like,
Right.
why are we talking about this, right? Like if we're talking about something 9 months ago, that's 9 months too long, right? And so the idea is like annual review should be not something that's dredging up old topics. It should be more of like looking forward, and that, if there's something that comes up that you should be more addressed earlier in the process, have a sounding board for people. And so that's kind of was the origination, and we've gotten great feedback from all our staff in that, and also kind of recognized here in the state for that program. And it's really been helpful retaining staff. There was a kind of a shift after COVID of prior to COVID, if we needed a experienced residential project manager or architect, we could probably go out there and find one from another firm. But as the COVID time, those people either went on their own, or the companies are holding on to those key people very tight. We had to hire right out of college and then train and try to retain. In that process, the mentor program became key.
So how does that translate outside of the firm? You're involved in organizations helping students outside of the firm as well. How do you do that, and what's the program look like?
So on a college level, I've been working with the University of Minnesota Design Student Alumni Board. Their mission is to help ease the transition of graduating students to their professional careers, that kind of gap of practical knowledge, or at least providing some network paths so that you're not just a resume or a cold call, that we're providing inroads with companies. And as I said, the professional companies have really embraced it over the last few years, as well as the idea that they also may have to be hiring right out of college and getting a snapshot at the students prior to hiring them. That has been met really well on both sides, both professionally and the students. The engagement of trying to combine them early on with fun events and learning events. We have kind of speaking events. One is called like Dirty Laundry, where they kind of like give you the dirt on relationships of architects with interior designers or clients. Another one that we do is called the Design in Seven, where there's 7 design fields within the College of Design at University of Minnesota, and each of them give a kind of a 7-minute rundown of how they came out of college and where they are now. And generally, most of them are successful and trying to give us a snapshot. But a lot of it comes down to the kind of networking events and providing, like we do a portfolio review for students. So the professionals come in and they are able to review their portfolio and present how they're going to do their portfolio and get constructive feedback before the real thing during the interview. So that's been hugely helpful, as well as we also do a mentoring program at the college level. So we pair professionals with students, and every year you can get a new mentor from a different company, so you can see what a commercial company is versus a residential company or a healthcare, and so I think it ends up helping them get more focused in a direction they may want to go coming out of school.
So that's primarily coordinated with the University of Minnesota?
Correct. Yep. The group is a student/alumni group, but yeah, it is coordinated with the College of Design.
Let's take a quick break to say thank you to our sponsors for their support of this episode. As an architect or firm owner, you might find yourself swamped with drawings that take up most of your day, leaving you with little time to manage your business. MGS Global Group can lighten your load by handling all of your drafting and rendering needs. Their experienced team of architects and designers can convert your schematic designs into DDs and CDs with minimal supervision. With expertise in industry-leading tools like Revit, ArchiCAD, and more, MGS is the perfect partner for managing your project spikes and urgent tasks. They work as an extension of your team and follow your standards to ensure the quality and accuracy of your drawings. Having served sole practitioners, small firms, and publicly traded companies since 2008, MGS guarantees you get the help you need right when you need it. Visit mgsglobalgroup.com and book your free consultation today. That's mgsglobalgroup.com. ARCAT's Spec Wizard is the tool that will help you save time writing specifications. Going through the manufacturer's specification line by line to find the right product leads to frustration and errors, and that's where Spec Wizard comes in. It's a free, patented tool that allows you to select products and options error-free and generate a 3-part specification in minutes. Go to arcat.com, that's ARCAT.com, and try Spec Wizard today. Please visit our sponsors today and thank them. Thank them for supporting you, the Entre Architect community. Do you do any programs with AIA or other professional organizations as well?
Yeah, so the AIA is involved in many different levels with that, but they have a new kind of I'll call it like a award system where they have Firm Friendly Award for emerging professionals. And so we participated in that last year. It's a point system where they ask you, do you pay for licensure? Do you pay for tests? Do you involve new employees in the design process or client contact? And you get a score overall. We were kind of in a tough spot. We're at like 28. We're no longer considered a small firm. I guess we're a very low end medium firm. So
you're a not so small firm.
Yeah. Commercially, we're a pretty small firm, but residentially, we're one of the larger firms. But we had to compete against, let's say, firms that have more cash flow to invest. But we, like I said, with our mentor program and the assistance that we provide, like we pay for past tests, we give a bonus if you get your licensure. AA has a leadership forum, so they take emerging professionals and do a 6-month course where they bring in all kinds of speakers and business leaders throughout. And so every year we nominate some of our employees. We pay for that. It's kind of almost a business class, so to speak. And so we promote that every year. So some of those are the ones that we work with the AIA, and it's been well received.
Would you say that the work that you do in-house with the mentoring program that you have at PKA translates to a better business?
Yes. I mean, if you can remove some of the worries, the angst that gets in the way of just like focusing on design, you can kind of alleviate some of that. I found out, both our staff are happier, and happier staff leads to
it builds a better culture.
Yeah, and great design. We also really push in our office within that, also that mentoring program, like that allows you to say, "Hey, I'm new here, but I have never been in a client meeting or I've never been on the site." And so you can recommend those to the mentors, and the mentors facilitate that. And because PMs are busy, they're focused on their projects. Sometimes they may not know that one of their support staff hasn't ever been out to the site, and it's just that little nudging of, hey, Mike here hasn't been out to the site, and he really needs that for both his AXP and learning experience, and just that kind of reinforcement and making those things easier for people. Again, it helps us retain the staff. They're more focused, they're happier. We do a lot of team building in our office. If we can, we try to do a company trip every few years if business is good. So far, it's been good. So we try to do that. And we've always gotten great feedback how that really provides a more close knit, collaborative team.
I have found through the years that happy employees often translate to happy clients, and happy clients translates to better business because it's a culture thing, right? People like what they're doing, they like the people they're working with, they like their employers, they like the work that they do, and that all translates to a better relationship with your clients.
Definitely the client, like in the client meetings, the happiness, the exuberance, like this person is excited to work on my project.
Right.
In the end, if things go sideways, which a lot of times they can, that saves a lot of things. Like,
Yeah.
they're trying hard, they're excited about my project, they're only trying to do good for us. And, everyone makes an occasional mistake. They're more willing to overlook those in that. And when times get slower, that exuberance, that is a small thing that may put you ahead of another firm, right? And getting that prospect.
The other thing that happens when employees feel comfortable and safe within their employment, they don't hide their mistakes,
Yes,
right? There's a process for them. Like you mentioned earlier, there's actually a process for sharing your struggles or sharing the things that may not be working, sharing possible mistakes so they don't become crises, right? You know about them earlier.
yes,
Where if you have this culture of aggression or you just do your job and I'll take care of the rest, those situations get hidden and then they become problems and crises.
I agree 100%. We always say you're going to make mistakes.
Yep.
What we can try to do is limit them so they're not catastrophic mistakes, right? Like, let's try to limit those. And before I became a principal and owner, I would like do the QA review of all the sets that came out of our office. And I would always tell, especially the emerging staff, right? Like, almost every single one of my red lines that I mark on your sets has been a mistake that we have made in the past and have learned from it. And then now is a red line, right? And we're saying, let's not repeat that mistake. So, mistake is fine. Repeating a mistake, now that's where we
Right.
hope to hold the line, right? So,
Well, what would you say, Ryan, to those who are listening who want to follow your lead, both in house and outside? What would you recommend that architects do to find similar opportunities in their own regions?
that's a good question. I think on like reaching out on the AIA level or even the college level, especially the college level. I think because everybody's gone through school and it's see their professors and that it's like in their mind, like maybe a more like daunting institution. But I have found like reaching out to them that they're very hungry for professionals that are willing to give their time. And I have found like this the payback and the enjoyment of working with them and seeing them move on in their careers is great. And so, but I was like, how do I even approach University of Minnesota? I want to like, college design because it's like all the professors that've been there for 20 years and whatever. But just reaching out, there are is always like some type of administrator that is for outreach, and they're like so hungry for that interaction from the professional crowd that I was like a little surprised, like, why haven't I done this earlier in my career? Right? It seemed much easier, and as well as the AI is always looking for that, volunteer portion. And if you feel strongly about something, most likely they will be happy to create a committee just to
Right.
focus on that part, right? So, we had a few staff here that had taken alternate paths through to for education or experience, and the AIA and NCARB are going through, and it can be a controversial topic of like alternate pathways to licensure. But again, we had a few staff here that have been on that path and felt very passionate about it. And, just like enabling them, like, please reach out to the AIA. And they have gone on to actually speak at the conventions because of that passion and being that involvement. So I think it's just this idea that it might be a difficult path, but really, if you have that passion and that desire, there is a kind of large hunger for that professional architect to provide their experience back to whomever, emerging professionals, students, to any level, really. So just go out there and ask, right? The worst thing they can say is no.
I can imagine that there's also a lot of satisfaction when you're giving back and you see people thrive because of the work that you've given back to them.
Yeah, it can kind of seem like a jargon, but I tell like all my mentees, while I enjoy a successful project, I enjoy it. And sure, I enjoy it if it's published. But in the end of the day, like when I retire as an architect, if I know that the emerging professionals I've worked with, the students I worked with, there's 20 of them out there leading other firms, that's going to be much more satisfying to me
Right.
than like one project that was published in a magazine on a certain year. So for me, that idea of giving back and knowing that is only strengthening that web, right? And then the idea of those 20, if they have been provided that from me, that hopefully a good majority of them will do that and just kind of magnify
Right.
and help increase for everyone.
Imagine the impact that you're having by impacting hundreds of architects along the way that potentially could then impact hundreds more, and those hundreds more. It's pretty gratifying.
Yeah, if I've learned one other thing, it's like the architecture, regardless across the nation, is a very small circle, right? So
Yes.
you end up knowing people from Chicago or San Francisco, and how that is kind of cyclic and circle there. You see these people throughout your career that you would never think you would see again, and the connections and even projects that are related. Like we've had many projects that have come to us from commercial design architects saying, like, "Hey, I don't do a residence, but I know knew you through this small circle. You do great." Like even their own houses. Like, "Hey, do you want to design me
Yeah.
a house?" Right? Like that's not my wheelhouse. And usually it's like either the spouse is like, "Yeah, you're not designing it. Have someone else design it." Right? And so it's a fun connection. And I'm always surprised by that rewarding, not only rewarding for like satisfaction of improving multiple people, but it does give back to you in other ways that it's always surprising.
Yeah. As we wrap things up here, Ryan, what would you say is one thing that a small firm architect can do today to build a better business for tomorrow?
I think it's really kind of exploring the idea of a mentoring program within your company. Like I said, at least for us in the hiring as every year beyond COVID, where remote work and everything becomes more and more commonplace, the idea of like keeping employees loyal and happy and wanting to stay with your firm when there's so many other options. And like I only think that that hiring method is going to become more and more important as that kind of remote work happens, that
Yeah.
allow increasing or removing any obstacles or any excuses for why they may want to leave, and just having that open conversation with them has been hugely helpful. And it took a little growing pains for a year, but like, year two, year three, it has been a kind of a self-sustaining initiative where everybody has bought in and are appreciative and happy for it. And so, there is a little initial kind of put a little more work into it, but in the end, it makes, everyone that much more happy or feel like they have a say in their career, because they do. And we end up retaining the people and the experience and the happiness. It all shows through. So I would say, regardless, we started it, we were about 16 people. So I think you can, whatever small firm you may have, if you're probably above 10, it's something that I think is really worthwhile.
Yeah. I can imagine that even firms that are smaller than 10 could partner with other firms.
Yes. Yep.
Maybe do 2 or 3 or 4 firms come together and help mentor one another's employees. I think that would be really interesting.
That's a great idea. Actually, you can provide a little bit more insight where you're not feeling like are they giving me the company speak or are they giving me
Right.
the mentor speak? I really like that idea. And that was kind of the old IDP way of like, you want to have a mentor outside your office too.
Right.
And I think that's fallen away a little bit on the kind of licensing level, but that's a great idea.
His name is Ryan Fish. The firm is PKA Architecture. The website is pkarch.com. I highly recommend that you go to pkarch.com and poke around. They do beautiful work. If you want to see some beautiful architecture, houses specifically, go check out pkarch.com. Ryan, thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for giving back to our profession in such a powerful way. And thanks for coming by here and sharing your knowledge at Entre Architect Podcast.
Thank you very much. And thanks for the podcast. They're a great learning environment as well.
You're welcome. Thank you. If you liked this episode of Entre Architect Podcast, please share a link to this episode with a friend. Either just click the share button or highlight the URL and send the link to this episode with a friend, because that's how Entre Architect has grown to serve thousands more architects just like you throughout the 10 plus years of Entre Architect. That's how we've grown, architect to architect. So I would love for you to share this episode and all the episodes with one friend every week. We'd love that. And thank you to our sponsors for this episode. We don't have an episode if there's no sponsors. So thank you to our sponsors. Links to those sponsors, which you should go visit and click, and all the resources that we discussed today for this specific episode, they are all available at entrearchitect.com/podcast. Every episode that we've recorded is there, entrearchitect.com/podcast. Go click the links to the sponsors and say hello. Entre Architect is a member of the Gable Media Podcast Network. You should go visit that at gablemedia.com. That is the next evolution of interactive media and resources for the AEC community. You can now earn continuing education credits for listening to select episodes of this podcast, Entre Architect Podcast. Yes, AIA CEUs for listening to a podcast. It's there, and many other podcasts are there as well, and you can listen to all of them and get credit. Learn more about our program, Gable Members Program, at the gablemedia.com/members website. That's GABL media.com/members. And if you are a small firm architect, join us today at Entre Architect Network. That is the worldwide organization for small firm entrepreneur architects. If you own your own architecture firm, you are an entrepreneur architect. You are an Entre Architect. With weekly live group business coaching, we have business coaching there, monthly live business training with AIA CEUs, 2 a month, so 24 AIA credits per year, including 12 of those are HSWs. We have them in the membership. Business resources, all the resources you need to run your business, special session webinars, mastermind groups, and a thriving community of small firm architects just like you. Hundreds of architects are there waiting for you to join. So we provide the support and encouragement you need to succeed as a small firm architect. I know that you haven't been trained as a business person when you launched your firm. That's what we do. Come learn how to run a business at Entre Architect Network. And today you can go join right now for free for 30 days at this link, entrearchitect.com/30 days will give you free 30 days for membership. Go check it out at entrearchitect.com/30 days, and I will see you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of Entre Architect Podcast. My name is Mark R. LePage, and I want you to remember 3 words: love, learn, share. Have a great day.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark R. LePage, founder of Entree Architect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.